I did find it really interesting, though, Ramona, that Chris Paul has not heard from Steve Ballmer.
Yeah.
He has not heard from Jeff Van Gundy. He has not heard from Ty Lue ever since this sort of fizzled out, even after he apologized.
After Chris Paul was sent home by the Clippers, right after that late-night hotel meeting, the surprising Instagram post, and the NBA chaos that followed, everyone started questioning what really happened. Fans were fighting online, teammates stayed silent, and the front office took heavy criticism while Tyronn Lue downplayed any talk of issues between them. Then came that uncomfortable Halloween story. Chris hosted a party for his teammates, but only 3 people showed up. 3? That's rough. You can practically feel the secondhand embarrassment. That small moment spoke volumes about the tension, the icy atmosphere, and how disconnected the team had become behind closed doors. Now, new reports reveal a lot more about what truly happened between CP3 and the Clippers. And it's crazy. The details explain why James Harden and Kawhi Leonard were reportedly shocked and why the locker room chemistry never recovered. Once you hear it all, it suddenly becomes clear why things collapsed so quickly and why the Clippers ultimately decided it was time to send him home.
The Clippers did what they did. They knew Chris was this guy.
Yeah.
Momo, they knew this. They had him for 5 years. They were surprised that he was vocal and holding people accountable.
Yeah, they thought he was going to change his approach.
That's the inexcusable thing to me.
Yeah.
That they are now acting like they didn't know they knew, like they didn't know what they were getting. They knew exactly what they were getting.
Chris Paul was sent home after midnight following that loss to the Heat. Then he posted online saying he'd been removed from the team. Instantly, chaos erupted. Social media exploded because this is the same guy the Clippers might one day hang a jersey for. And one of the smartest minds the game has ever seen. Fans were left stunned asking the same questions. What actually happened that night? What did Chris do and what did the team do to him?
One of the smartest players ever to play basketball.
It all began the second they brought Chris in. He signed that 1-year, $3.6 million veteran minimum deal over the summer, expected to be the steady voice at the end of the bench. The calm leader the Clippers believed they were missing. The issue is, Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are built very differently. They have talent and respect, no question, but they aren't vocal, rally the huddle types. And behind the scenes, some players were already uncomfortable, quietly worrying that CP3 might start eating into their minutes. That tension existed from day one.
One question that has sort of continued to come up, at least for me, Danny, and around the league since this happened is what?
Like, was this so bad that it had to be handled this way?
Yeah.
Like, was it that bad?
Look, I wasn't in the locker room, okay? I talked to everybody in and around this, so my answer would be no, that there were so many other ways you could have done this. Could you have come up with, hey, it's not working out, let's send you home to rehab and injuries, be away from the team for a couple of weeks until the trade deadline? There's so many other ways they could have done that. Even somebody who doesn't like Chris Paul said to me, I don't even like Chris Paul, but he's not a G leaguer. You don't send him home in the middle of the night like that.
When there is a leadership vacuum, someone will fill it. Like, Kawhi Leonard, not really a leader,
Right.
great player.
Not
James
vocal,
Harden,
not
great
vocal.
player, not vocal.
Yep.
Like, they're not bad leaders. They just don't really do it. That's not their thing. And so when you bring a guy like Chris Paul in, and you know him, he knows you, etc., he's gonna do what Chris Paul. He's gonna try to show leadership. So some of the things early on.
So Lawrence Frank, the front office executive, tried to settle everyone down. He told the players, hey, his role will be small, nothing to stress about. But that already sounded suspicious. We're talking about a guy who just played all 82 games and still competes like he's 25. That's not someone who's happy sitting silently at the end of the bench.
We did not make this move because of our underperformance. He had nothing to do with that. I take full responsibility for our record. We are not scapegoating Chris Paul. We have many issues, and we're going to address each issue for our underperformance. But I do want to make it clear, we have great respect for Chris, for the career that he's had, and for his impact on the organization, what he did to help transform the franchise, and we're not blaming him for our underperformance. This decision had nothing to do with one incident or one meeting that did or did not happen. Some of our business, respectfully, I have to keep in-house, but this didn't come down to, just a one incident, one meeting. It just wasn't the right fit.
It's like signing Russell Westbrook and saying, relax, he won't really play. He'll just hang out on the sideline.
You cannot put Russell Westbrook on your team and not play him. If you put Russell Westbrook on your team and don't play him, it's over. He is going to it's going to be he'll go nuts. He'll so why aren't I playing? I don't understand. He's so competitive.
Yeah, right. But Chris handled it calmly. He said, as long as I can compete, I'm fine. I may be 41, but I can still play and help like a coach on the floor. Even with that mindset, the start was bumpy. Once the season tipped off, tension rose quickly. Anytime CP3 shared advice, people got defensive. Some guys were thinking, who does this guy think he is telling me how to do my job? At one point, he suggested a teammate change their training routine, and the Clippers staff didn't appreciate that. Felt like he was crossing boundaries. Chris didn't back down either. He challenged players, spoke up on plays, and pushed for adjustments. Some viewed it as leadership. Others took it personally. Insiders say it wasn't just what he said, but the way he said it. One team executive even admitted that's just who Chris is. He wears people down. He believes he's right. And honestly, most of the time he is, but it still irritates people. That same trait kept showing up all season. Things unraveled quickly behind the scenes. During training camp, Chris ran the second unit but was outplaying starters. Ty Lue even gave him close to 20 minutes in the preseason, and people started murmuring, wait, what happened to that small role they promised?
They'll say, okay, before he even signed, there were so many meetings where they said, this is going to be your role. You're not going to play very much. Some nights you're going to play, other nights you're not. We want you to be kind of show some leadership. You got gravitas, or you're credible.
Right.
It's a great story. And he started 82 games for San Antonio. He's a guy who, like, James Harden's out, he can fill in and run the offense for a game. Okay, that's how they saw him.
That moment flipped everything. Chris felt energized and ready to lead, while some teammates were already irritated. Someone close to the team even said, if they just wanted a cheerleader, why sign Chris Paul at all? Then came opening night against the Utah Jazz. The Clippers lost by 21 points. After the game, Chris tried to pull everyone together for a locker room meeting, but no one really bought in. A few nights later, after beating New Orleans, he and his wife hosted a Halloween party at the arena, with food, decorations, and a full team bonding setup. Only 3 players showed up: Ivica Zubac, Bradley Beal, and one other guy. That was it. Everyone else stayed home. It was awkward and honestly kind of depressing, especially since it was meant to bring them closer.
He invited guys to his suite at the Rams game.
Yeah,
he threw a Halloween party, and then no one came. And after they get work the first night in Utah, which is this great.
That is the saddest thing.
It was
throwing
really
a Halloween party and
like
nobody
three players
up.
came. I think Brad Beal came and
That is
Zubac
sad.
and like.
That is
and
really
you're like,
sad.
Yeah,
he's trying to build.
If LeBron throws a Halloween party, how many people do you
Everyone's
think
gonna be
are
there.
skipping it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
think about
a
this.
podcast from LeBron's one.
Like, think about, he's trying to be like, I'm going to try to help you build some culture.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring guys over to my house, or let's work out together. Let's have a Halloween party. His wife and he threw this party at the suite after the Halloween game, and like 3 players came. And I mean, so he's trying to fill the leadership void the way he does. And every time he did it, they would sort of recoil, like, ugh, I don't know, too much. And then they started losing. Like,
Right.
they didn't win a game for 2 weeks. And he's not part of the solution. He's older, he's slower defensively. I think they're getting killed. They got to start putting some young guys in there. He's getting blown by defensively. So they go, hey, you're going to be out. We're going to try something new. They take him out. This is the first time he's gotten coach's decision DNP his entire career.
Yeah,
Right.
like even
That's-
going back to elementary school.
That's hard.
So
okay?
so let me ask you this: the TikTok of the
Okay.
way it went down,
Yeah.
because there was a delayed flight and then it didn't. What? How? Describe exactly.
Do you mean
why
the last day?
Correct, the last day, the way
Okay.
that went down.
After that, the losing streak dragged on for nearly 2 weeks. To make matters worse, some of those losses came against OKC and Phoenix, teams Chris once played for. He was frustrated because nobody even asked him how to defend Devin Booker or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's when his anger really kicked in. The Clippers clearly had a picture in their heads of how Chris would fit. Quiet, supportive, leading softly from the bench. But that wasn't what Chris envisioned at all. He wanted to compete, lead, and be involved. That clash didn't just annoy players. It bothered the coaches too. Rumors started circulating that Ty Lue and Chris hadn't spoken for weeks. In reality, they were talking, but it wasn't friendly. Chris kept pushing Ty with ideas. More meetings, tougher practices, stricter accountability. Meanwhile, Ty kept responding with, "You're not playing tonight." Imagine hearing that for the first time in your career. No minutes at all. That's brutal. Once the DNPs started stacking up, things spiraled. The tension between Chris and Ty turned into real dislike. And to make it worse, assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy was there too, just as opinionated as Chris. Two strong personalities, one locker room. You can guess how that ended.
They say to him, like, hey, let's work together on how we release this. And at that point, he was, not happy. And they were like, let's do this okay. Let's put a statement out together. Yeah. We still want to retire your jersey one day. Da, da, da.
And
he was like,
instead, Chris released it on social media at 3 o'clock in the morning.
ESPN reported that Jeff Van Gundy and Chris Paul clashed all season. And honestly, is anyone surprised? You remember Jeff as a broadcaster, right? Loud opinions, zero filter. Now imagine that next to Chris. Of course they butted heads. When I go to writers to tell me who can guard in this league, I'll put a gun to my own head. That's classic Jeff. Can you seriously picture Jeff Van Gundy and Chris Paul peacefully coexisting? That was a ticking time bomb. And eventually it blew up right after the Dallas game. The moment when all that bottled up tension finally spilled out.
I mean, you can imagine he's trolling him. He's questioning the earnestness of that. I think he said something I can't say on TV at that point. It was a little harsh. And from that point on, things really got uncomfortable between those two. But also Ty Lue was saying, what happened between you and Van Gundy? There was meeting after meeting after meeting. Like, honestly, it was exhausting to me to report on this. I can't imagine living through this.
Remember, Kawhi had just returned from injury when all of this happened. During the Dallas game, Chris suggested changing defensive coverage on Klay Thompson because Kawhi looked tired. John Collins switched onto Klay instead, which technically was Jeff Van Gundy's call as defensive coordinator. The switch failed and everything started unraveling. Van Gundy was furious, and later on the team plane, he went straight at Chris. And if you know Jeff, you know he doesn't hold back. Chris fired back immediately. He walked over to where Chris Dunn and Kawhi were sitting, had them stand up, and asked, "Was that a suggestion, or was I telling you to switch?" Kawhi answered, "It was a suggestion." Chris responded, "See? A suggestion. What's the problem?" That's when Van Gundy snapped and said, "You don't have that freedom here anymore." That sentence changed everything. It was the breaking point after months of tension. Chris had already been warned by the coaches, the front office, and Ty multiple times, and this was the final straw. At that moment, the Clippers were done. They didn't care about being on the road, losing games, or the time of night. They just wanted the drama gone. As one source said, "This is way too much chaos for the 12th man." Lawrence Frank decided to handle it himself. He wanted to tell Chris face to face, but delays piled up. Meetings, travel, logistics, and by the time it happened, it was almost 3 a.m. Chris was blindsided. He sat there stunned, realizing his career, leadership, and effort were over just like that. He never saw it coming. When they called him in, he even brought Brook Lopez with him for backup. A classic CP move. That's how he operates. When challenged, he brings allies to prove he's right. But this time, the decision was final. The front office told him, "You're going home, but you're a legend. We'll retire your jersey someday." They even suggested a joint press release to make it look mutual. Chris refused. Reportedly said, "Hell no." Stormed out and went straight to Instagram to post, "I just got sent home." And that confirmed everything. This wasn't one blow-up. It was a season of small clashes that finally exploded on that plane with Jeff Van Gundy. And honestly, the Clippers mishandled this. They knew Chris's leadership style. Intense, demanding, detail-obsessed. It was never going to fit a veteran-heavy roster with coaches set in their ways. Once losses piled up, things turned toxic. When Chris said Ty didn't talk to him for weeks, that wasn't fully true. Ty spoke to him plenty. He just kept repeating himself and nothing changed. Eventually, Ty probably thought, "What's the point? One comment sums it up perfectly. Chris Paul has always been tough on veterans, but great with young players. To vets, he can feel controlling or even patronizing. To younger guys, it looks like passion and discipline. On a team full of veterans stuck in their habits, that energy hit differently. Add the fact that at 41, Chris couldn't lead with his play the same way anymore, and this was doomed. The fire that once made him great no longer fit this locker room. What a ride. From locker room tension to a late-night meeting. Wild stuff. Now I want to know what you think. Was Chris misunderstood? Or did the Clippers mess this up completely? Could his leadership still work somewhere else? And honestly, if you were Ty Lue, would you have sent him home too? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, like it, share it, and subscribe to Ball Stories for more behind-the-scenes NBA chaos. And don't stop here. More drama is waiting in our other videos. Go check them out. Catch you next time. Peace.